Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to KHM Today, your weekly resource for industry news and straight up fun. I am your host, Carolyn Orff, and today is February 8th, 2023. We are celebrating Black History Month with a little bit of Valentine's on the side. I hope everyone is having a great day today. The sun is out and shining here in Colorado. I couldn't be happier. So, with Valentine's Day upon us, get ready for those destination weddings and those honeymoon requests to come piling in. You will start to see an uptick shortly after Valentine's Day. So, get on that social media and let people know that you are here and ready to assist them with their honeymoons and destination weddings. So, with that said, we have a community poll going on at our community tab, and we would love for you to answer the question, where would you go on a romantic getaway? And then after that, answering that question, feel free to check out our fantastic video on the top 5 romantic destinations. So, our first guest today, though, is a new member of the KHM Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team. She wrote a recent blog that is posted on our KHM blog about celebrating and observing Black History Month. Be sure to check it out. But in the meantime, we are lucky enough to have her here today live. Please welcome Dr. Tonicia Freeman-Foster. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I'm so happy and so excited to be here today.
Well, we had a wonderful chat last week and it was so fun. And I was telling our production team, I said, I get to meet a lot of people and it's not rare, but it's rare that I stop in the middle of the conversation and just tell someone, I really like you. I really like you. And that's kind of what I felt. I really loved our conversation. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of like replay that today because I felt like it was so beneficial. And I love the fact that over the weekend, I kind of reflected on what you had to say. So we're just kind of jump right into it. But I want to ask you first, because we have this community poll going, if there is a romantic destination in your sights, is there a place that you love?
That's a good question. I think I see Bora Bora. That's a nice place. Bora Bora, Fiji, like those over the water bungalows. That would be awesome.
See, now I would have thought that you would have said something in the Caribbean because one of the things that you have said in this blog post, and of course that we've discussed, is that you feel very at home there. It's a place that you feel very accepted and it feels natural and just really just comfortable. So
Absolutely.
What is it about the Caribbean that makes you feel like it is your home away from home?
Absolutely. So thank you. But there's a both and. So the Caribbean is home to me. For me, it's the people, it's the culture, it's the music, it's the Afro-Caribbean beats, food, and it just feels like, I don't know, soulful. I think for me, it's beautiful water, hearing the sounds of those waters, and also I think the genuine care that each of have for each other, that just feels like home and the welcoming that we receive each and every time.
I haven't traveled. Well, I should say I've traveled more of the Caribbean on a cruise ship, which I think gives you a little taste, but actually going and staying in a destination gives you more of that warmth and that feel. And I feel that way about Jamaica. When you get off that plane, there is this immediate warmth. And even during the time where we were all wearing masks, it was the one place that somehow or another, that warmth shined through a mask, because I think with the Jamaican people, it comes through the smile, but it more comes out through the eyes. So
Absolutely.
With a mask on, you could still see that they were so happy to be there, so happy to, be of service and of help, and just this warm and welcoming presence. And there is a love for family and a love for children there that I think is really very special. I don't know that I've seen that in other destinations.
I would agree with that. And I think it's a general love for humanity and the love for the water, a love for just being alive that is electric for me.
Yep. So you have said that this is a place that you love to visit. is it do you go other places, or do you feel like this is kind of your thing, and when you go on vacation, this is where you wanna go, you don't wanna think about other options, other destinations?
So there's a both and. So we've gone to other places, but these are the places that we know, like, this will be special. This will feel like home. This is where we will go call them our family, our cousins.
Mhm.
We're going to see our cousins. So that is a place that's very special. And I think each time we book, those are the places that have priority for us. Like, where are we going to in the Caribbean? And we have a little map that we look at and like, okay, where's the next place that we want to stay at, and where else do we want to explore? And for us, it is going off of those normal touristy paths and like really immersing ourselves in the culture, going where the residents go and being amongst that culture and meeting people and hearing the stories around how they navigate life and about their kids and things like that that we really enjoy.
Do you still hold true to the fact that there are times where that works and there are times where you need to, um, be thinking about safety and things like that? Like, when we spoke, you kind of were pretty clear on, that yes, there's a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and the place that it doesn't matter who you are, you need to make sure that you're looking out for your safety and not going into certain areas and experiencing certain things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's anywhere. It's here in the United States. We just don't pick up and wander off places. And we say that about going anywhere. Like, don't act like a tourist. That's always our speech. Don't walk around with jewelry in your purse and just looking at buildings. Act like you've been there and walk like you've been there, and just be safe. And there are certain things that we just won't do. Even as travel agents, like we had a customer, for example, that wanted to go to Jamaica and live in an Airbnb, and like, I'll just go and get my food each day. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Like, that's not safe. And so we look at the climate there, we look at the culture there, we look at the travel advisories there, and also things that are in the news. But one of the things we also look at is the conversion of the dollar. And so in some places like Barbados, it's $1 for two
Mhm.
Bajan dollars. And sometimes in Jamaican places, it's $1 to 180 Jamaican dollars or 120. And so we look at that through the lens of the level of poverty that's there, and not in a lens of judgment, but in a lens of there's a certain way that you need to conduct yourself. You go there because you're seen as rich, and so you don't go out at night. You don't rent a scooter and drive around at midnight in places
Mhm.
that you don't know. And that's not only there, but I think anywhere.
Right. Well, and sometimes we forget that the behaviors that we use in our daily life with being conscientious of, especially as women, of, is the parking lot lit? Is someone following me out of the store? I'm big on, is there a white van parked near my car, in the parking lot? Like, I will go way out of my way if I don't have to squeeze in between two cars that kind of make me feel uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Um, that mindset, even though we're on vacation, should still be over here. You can't, like, let
Absolutely.
all of those guards down, and that stinks, right? You're on vacation, but you still have to be smart about it. Um, and that sometimes I think that's hard for people to do when they're on vacation. Oh, I think we're a little frozen. As we unfreeze here, because I have a really important question to ask Dr. Freeman. I see here that we've got Bora Bora. Nicole, good to see you. You're a St. Lucia. Vicky, absolutely agree with you that Jamaica, they never stop smiling. Pamela, good to see you. I'm glad you got the time change. Oh, Tanisha, are you there? Because I have a really great question. There she is. There you are.
Sorry
There
about
you are.
that.
Woo! Okay, we just said hello to everyone that was posting. Okay, so
Okay.
before we freeze up again, you know, um, it's been often said, we talk so much about those qualifying questions when we're talking about our clients, and we ask about mobility issues and dietary things. Now I think we're a lot more in tune with asking some questions around sexual identity, but race doesn't really come into play for any of my clients, and I have a broad spectrum. That doesn't really tend to be a question that I ask about. Um, Do you think we should be asking questions that kind of lend itself to that discussion? Or do you feel like for the most part we the questions are the same? We're not sending people to different places based on their race.
Absolutely. I think there's a both and that I don't agree with adding a question to a list where we check it off and like ask race, here you
Yeah,
go. But being aware of that person's wishes. What is their cultural preferences? What are they looking for? And how do we create this vacation experience for these human beings? And I think looking at it through the same lens that we look at when we ask questions about dietary needs, about disabilities, about if kids are traveling, because we want to create an experience that is safe and an
right.
experience that is inclusive. And so I'm not going to send someone to a place that doesn't, that creates a sense of othering for them
Right.
based on their skin tone. And so I think being aware as a travel agent where we're sending people and what they're looking for, but doing that in a way that honors what the client wants. So I'm not going to take everyone black and say, hey, here, you need to go to Jamaica, but I'm going to
Right.
find out what they're interested in and
Right.
try to work with them around how do I create an experience for them that's going to be positive and that's rewarding and that honors the investment that they are putting up for their vacation.
This is why I think we were talking before the show so much having that conversation with I know a lot of agents do, forms and things like that, and I have stepped away from that because I feel, like I wanna get to know them emotionally and really
Yes.
hear in their voice what things, are really important to them, and I think that people sometimes have a hard time expressing that on a form, whereas you
Mhm.
can hear it in their voice, you can hear hesitation, and
Yes.
that sometimes alone tells you what they want or don't want. And so I think that's great. So thank you for answering that question for me because it's come up in multiple conversations before and it's always kind of confused me like why do I need to ask anything different? Maybe I just need to be listening
Yes.
more and
Yes.
tuning into some of the answers.
Yes.
So you've written this beautiful blog. If you guys haven't read it yet, go on there and read it because it is about some of your love of the Caribbean, but also an experience you had in Mexico, which I think is really cool. And I've had similar experiences in different destinations where you just kind of look around and you go, oh my gosh, we're different, but ultimately we're the same. But I wanted to one of the things you bring up is that we observe Black History Month, Black Heritage Month. We celebrate it to a certain degree, but it's really not about a month, right? We have these
Right.
different months throughout the year that we, note as Black History Month or, Hispanic Heritage Month. But really the message is weave it throughout your everyday life. How do you
Absolutely.
do that as a small business owner and educator? How do you do that?
Absolutely. So it's reading, learning. It's a continuous, lifelong learning process of learning about people and cultures that are different from mine and that are similar to mine as well. And I think recognizing the value that we bring, that I'm a Black woman, but I don't identify or understand every Black woman. And so how can I learn about them? How can I learn about the differences and the similarities? And so volunteering in your community, volunteering with individuals and communities that have been historically marginalized and learning about their stories. I think that keeps us grounded. Also, being in community with others. So I enjoy weight training, I enjoy Zumba and other things that put me in communities, not just transactional communities, but in communities where we can immerse ourselves and really get to
Mhm.
know each other beyond what we're doing. And so those are some of the things that I believe in. And I think keep us grounded because at the end of the day, we're human beings. And so, although we celebrate and honor and observe Black history in February, it should be every single day.
Mhm.
So, I a firm believer of 365 because people are Black outside of February. And so, how do we celebrate that? People are Hispanic outside of Hispanic Heritage Month. So, how do we honor that and value that throughout the year?
I couldn't agree more. And before I let you go, one of the things that I really thought was so fantastic in your blog was this quote: "Our diversity is a gift that we bring to the world and each other through our words, music, life stories, cultures, positive contributions, and much more." And when I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like, yes, this show in KHM Today is all about connecting travel advisors with the with the travel community, right? Suppliers and things like that. But I just think that it's also this opportunity to share things like this, share our experiences of our travel advisors, hear from our tour operators. I just kind of think it that just really spoke to me, because I think we do get a lot of diversity on the show, and it's a gift every week that I get to do it. So I can't thank you enough for being here. It really is, and I'm so glad to meet a new friend.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm so glad to meet you as well.
Thank you. And we will hopefully see each other soon, perhaps at a KHM in-person
Absolutely.
event. But until that time, thank you so much for your time today, and just absolute pleasure to have met you. And I look forward to our relationship moving forward.
Same here. Thank you, Carolyn.
Oh, you guys, see, this is like, how awesome is my job that I get to meet people like this. And like I said, Dr. Tonicia Freeman-Foster is part of our KHM Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team. So you'll be seeing more of her with works that they do throughout the next year. All right, you guys. So I'm very excited for our next guest, because this is a first timer to the show. Not only first time for her, but for this amazing tour operator. This woman has been in the travel industry for 40 years and has worked with many of our travel partners from their inception. She has been with Viking Cruises for 20 of its 25 years. Please welcome Michele Saegesser, Vice President of Sales for Viking Cruises. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That was such an interesting conversation you just finished.
Right? So, and this is the joy, and I
Fantastic.
think this is what's so fun
Yeah,
when we have suppliers on for the first time. Seeing what those other segments are like and what we talk about is always part of the fun, because
right.
it's a little bit different from what you guys normally experience when you're chatting with agent communities.
Absolutely. And the conversation with a client is one of the most important things that we teach about. Like, don't get caught up in forms and emails. Talk to
Yes.
people, because I'll tell you what, you're going to have a better relationship, better sales for sure, and make them even happier because you've customized an itinerary for them. So that was a great conversation. Thank you for having me on after that.
Well, thank you. So I do want to start with the question of the day, right? Is there a
Yeah.
romantic destination that
Oh,
you just love?
there's so many places I love. I'm from Ireland originally, so, my own home country is, I think, incredibly romantic, but there's cities that you go to that just win your heart, and one of them is Vienna. I think Vienna is one of the most magical, romantic cities, and it's not on everyone's bucket list, which is shocking because once they go there, they all want to go back. But
Yes. Yes.
there's just such a long list, Caroline. I could never give one favorite place or country. There's so much wonderful beauty to see in this world and great people to meet out there.
Well, and in this industry, you go to one and you think it can't get any better than that, and then you go to the next place and you think, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I can't believe that this exists." So I
Oh,
am in agreement with you. The list is
they
long.
dragged me by the hair, quite literally, to go to China the first time when we started sailing there in 2003. And I thought, I'm never going to love it. And I fell in love with Shanghai. And I hope we get to be back there soon
Yeah.
because it's a magical city as well. There's so much great around the world. Never just shut yourself off to one place. Although home sounds really good right now. I travel a little too much.
Yes, yes. Well, let's talk about 25 years of Viking. I mean, that's
Yes,
really
amazing.
astounding.
Yeah.
And so what's it been like to be part of 20 of those years?
It's hard to believe it's been 20 years for one thing. You start realizing your age after a while. But when I started with Viking, we had 12 ships. No one knew what a river cruise was. And our big challenge was, how do we teach travel advisors on what it is, not just how to sell it, but what is it? And people back then thought, oh my gosh, you cooked your own food in your cabin and it was barging. And I just find more amazement in how far we've come, how far river cruising has come, and then all the other things that Tor has taken us down the road of that. We don't all have the vision that our owner does. And thank goodness I get to work for someone like that who just has endless ideas. But to go from 12 ships to now we have over 70 river ships. The fleet is about 87 with all ships in. And to have been a part of so much of it, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's great to talk to our advisors all the time about how to keep your clients coming back for more and more and more, because the repeat business is a great part of your business. To all you KHM agents, this is a great way of just keeping people happy for years and years and years. The product stands.
Repeat business is, in my world, easy business. You just have to, it's a lot about the product, but it's also about the advisor and how good they are.
Is. Yeah. And asking the questions. I mean, to go with what you were talking about earlier with the doctor, it's about, what is your culture and heritage? What are you interested in? Because we focus so much on cultural enrichment and history and getting to know the local life and the local people. You might find someone in your database that you didn't think is a cruiser that's a river cruiser, which is very different than ocean. And it is those people that like the land programs and want to get to know locals and be in the local bakeries, which doesn't that sound wonderful right now? And you're going to make everyone hungry, and tasting the sausages and eating the beautiful cakes. And the husband and wife can each have different ideas of what they want to do. And that's the beauty of river cruising, I think, is there's something for everyone in it.
This started, 25 years ago, but I think the big turning point, and really when Americans got clued into river cruising, was that infamous ad that came out during Downton Abbey on PBS.
Yeah.
And I was a huge fan of it. And I remember, in that part of my life, I worked a lot at night and weekends because I had smaller children. So I remember sitting in my office, and I'm looking over to the side here because that's where it is, and watching Downton Abbey on Sundays and seeing the commercial. Tell me about that, because in our pre-show call, you did mention that you were in the room.
I was in the room.
The decision was made.
It was around 2010, 2011, somewhere in that period, when we were looking to get into TV. And you have to understand, our Viking's biggest problem then, and it was not a challenge, it was a problem, was getting the consumer as well as the advisor to understand what a river cruise was. We were still fighting the it's a barge kind of a trip. And so TV was it. We wanted to get onto the History Channel. And in hindsight, this is a very funny story. They turned us down because they didn't think it was a big enough account to advertise. And I'm pretty sure that person regrets that now. So one of our British colleagues said, oh, there's this new show on Masterpiece called Downton Abbey. And, it's doing really well here. Maybe you should look at it. And the brilliant VP of sales says, Masterpiece. When's the last time they had a hit? The 70s with upstairs, downstairs. And well, Downton is really very much upstairs, downstairs. And it's a good thing I'm not in charge of marketing, but it has made a significant difference in our lives, of course, and in river cruising in general, because it helped everybody grow. All of the different cruise lines out there hope we advertise more and more, because they do hang on our coattails a bit. But, it was just a sheer luck that Downton became what it was. We're still involved in the movies. One of the godmothers, she's a godmother twice, was from Highclere Castle, the actual lady of the castle. So, we're just so fortunate at where this has gone. It's just an amazing time. And it helped us become more and more. It helped us launch the long ships and then into ocean, which was a huge change for where we had been for all those years. Carolyn, are you still there?
Hi, it looks like Carolyn has fallen off. So let's see.
Okay.
It looks like she's still here, but she is gone. Let me message her. I don't know exactly what she's going to talk about today.
Well, we were going to talk a little of ocean. I can continue that if you'd like.
You may go ahead. I will see if I can get her back. Okay. Oh, here she comes.
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
It's never good
And
when you
she's
leave me
back.
alone. I was going to take over.
There we go. Well, that was so weird. A first time for everything. I'm like, I can
Yeah.
see you, I can hear you guys, but I wasn't on the screen anymore.
Oh,
So
dear.
that was weird, and I didn't even touch anything. But yes, let's talk about, because we went from river into ocean,
Yeah.
and I've sold this product, and I'm telling you, like, no
Thank you.
one complains. Everyone loves it. So what prompted such a move?
Well, Tor Hagen, our owner, was the CEO of Royal Viking Line. For those of you who go back as long as I do, you'll remember that magnificent company. And I don't think he ever got ocean cruising out of his spirit. River was great, but he is a deep blue water guy. And it was always a dream to bring back what Royal Viking Line was like. My parents were great lovers of the Royal Viking Line. And he really did just that. He brought out a fleet of ships that are very similar to the Royal Viking Line ships, where everything is outside, everyone has a veranda. It is the same beauty of the river ships brought into an ocean landscape. And so the light woods and the beautiful Norwegian surroundings, the same kind of programs where you can get into smaller places, because all of the ocean ships have less than 1,000 passengers on board. So we're still a small ship company when it comes to that. Now, here's the one you won't believe. We have 10 ocean ships now. We will have a brand new ocean ship every single year going forward to 2028. So they are selling well. You're right. The clients love them. It's an easy repeat business. And we fit in this little ledge that there isn't. You can't call us upper premium or uber luxury. We've created a little world that's between kind of all those worlds, that takes both your former Crystal, Seabourn, Silver Seas, Regent, Oceania people, as well as, and this is the one I think it's important for all of you to understand, your Princess Holland celebrity folks that sailed in the last 2 years, 3 years, that spent about $7,000 or more. So those that were in verandas. This is a very easy crossover for them. They tend to come over and take the more traditional bottom two categories, because for a few thousand more, they're upgrading to a luxury product, and they have a veranda. And all of the things that they think that they had to spend years and years to get as amenities from other cruise lines, they get with cruise number one.
Right.
So, Wi-Fi and all kinds of programs, and wine and beer with lunch and dinner, and all the things that we include are included from the first cruise. You don't have to work for 20 cruises to get it.
Right. Well, and interesting itineraries as well.
Very
Like,
interesting.
really interesting itineraries. And I think the size of the ship lends itself to that.
It sure
And
does.
and I also think that what's cool is the immersiveness, right? When you think about the immersiveness and the educational aspect of a river cruise, it's just transferred over to the ocean product.
It
That,
is.
but it's that same philosophy as, you're kind of here to learn, but we're going to do it in a fun way.
Exactly. And it's the same client in many ways. Now, some went from river to ocean and said, nope, we've done enough with larger ships. We want to go back to just river. And that's great too. There's plenty of itineraries for them. But what we see are the folks that are just, they don't want to be on 5,000 passenger ships anymore. And it's all shifting to smaller ships. And we're just fortunate to be considered the best in the world by Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast. For the last 2 years, we've won both best river in the world and best ocean for small ship luxury. So I'm telling you, it's a dream. It's a dream to work for them. It's a dream that we've had the success. Many people did not believe back in 2013 we would have this success with ocean. And we sold it out in 2013 for the 2015 sailing season without even cutting steel yet. Tor knows what he's doing. I don't doubt him on his marketing or his ship choices at all.
Well, and then you go from ocean, and then you go to expedition, which is like the newest, greatest gangbuster thing. But like I've said many times on the show, I'm always shocked at how a company can have foresight into what is going to be the next great thing when
Yeah.
you have to think about it so many years in advance. So talk about expedition. I know you've
It's a
experienced it.
challenge because everybody's in Antarctica now.
Yeah.
But these two ships, and honestly, between just us, they are my absolute favorite ships in the fleet. They are so different and so special, brand new, all out in the last 6 months. And when they're not doing Antarctica, they were built, very purposely built, to be able to go through the Welland Canal, to be able to go up into the Great Lakes. And I mean, its hairline, we hope that in the heat, that ship doesn't expand because it's that well purpose-built to get through the canal. But isn't that amazing that we could take an Antarctica ship that has all the expedition qualities on it and now do expedition cruising in the Great Lakes? So the submarines are on board, the Zodiacs are on board. There's these special ships called the SOBs, which, yes, I know everybody has a good giggle over, but they're called standard operation boats. And they're very specialized where they're on board the ship. And you literally walk onto them. There's no stairs up, no stairs down. You walk onto them and they roll out into the water. And for our clientele, they just love that because you can go do, when you're in Antarctica, if you're not one of the people doing a landing that day, you still can go out and do sightseeing in the SOBs and see all kinds of wildlife it's just an amazing destination. The crackling sounds of the ice, and then all of a sudden there's a whale and the penguins. And I am not an expedition type girl. That is not something that I would have gone and booked. And when I went last year, it was like, it's life-changing. The sounds, the sights, and then to be on a magnificent ship that has scientists on board. So we have 7 scientists on every sailing. There's an actual working laboratory because we work with Harvard, we work with Oxford, we work with a lot of the great universities in the UK as well, to do real studies on Antarctica and microplastics and the effects of the water. And we put up weather balloons from the decks. And it's just a special thing. No one else has built ships like this in Antarctica. I don't know that they could afford to, because we really built these for what our guests had asked for, which is a very immersive experience into the science side of it as well. Great food. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm taking a trip with one of the ships in the Great Lakes this summer, so I can't wait to see what that is like and to experience it. But all the toys go with it through the Welland Canal. And I'm doing Toronto, Milwaukee, which I think is a fantastic itinerary.
And so unique. I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? We've just got a few minutes left, Michele, but do you feel like you have a favorite Viking moment?
Oh, there have been so many great Viking moments. That's a great question. I think that I'm going to go back to China because I really believe one day we'll be back there on the Yangtze. But getting to meet in person one of the pandas, a giant panda, and get into the cage and feed it was probably one of those like, well, only with Viking could I have an experience quite like this.
Right.
And we've done some wonderful special events for our advisors. This is one night that I may never forget my whole life. And I know everyone that was there didn't. It was for our top producers cruise. And we took over Catherine the Great's summer palace and had dinner in her throne room with the Marinsky A-list soprano and all of the opera singers. And, you know, these are the magical moments I'm so proud of, and the moments that this company has given to me in all these years. But just seeing and meeting the people and knowing how we've changed the lives of staff and crew on board, you know, how many of them have been with us for years. I think one of my proudest moments, which may be even more important, is through COVID. You know, it wasn't easy on anybody. It wasn't easy on any of you. It certainly wasn't easy on cruise lines. Mr. Hagen paid every single one of our staff on all of these ships for 2 years. Wow. We did not lay anybody off. We know the importance of our staff, their family as well. We're all out of the same budget. We're out of the same bank account. These aren't people that are paid for a year and then they go somewhere else. They're Vikings, they're family, and they stay with us. So in hindsight, there was a lot of good reasons for it, not just to take care of them, but also that when startup came back, we had full staff everywhere.
Mhm.
So we started back probably 9 months earlier than any other cruise line. And on another note, and you and I haven't talked about this, but of course, we were very well known for our Russia cruising and Ukraine cruising.
Mhm.
And we are paying all of the staff on those ships still today that aren't able to move a ship or join with our guests,
Mhm.
but they are family. We are still taking care of and making sure that they're as safe as they can be. There's about 22 staff that live on each of those ships now too. So
There is such a humanity in this business, and I think we
yeah,
saw that in the last, 3, 4 years now, and it is a reason for many of us to stay in the business because you
it
see
is.
that love and joy that spreads not just to our clients, but to everyone that works within these companies, and I think that's
Yeah,
so important, and my gosh, we saw it at KHM as well. I mean,
sure.
we saw that same sort of love and affection for the staff there that you guys saw at Vikings. So I feel like it goes for the most part across the board.
I think we've all changed so much, and yet the majority have changed for the better. We see things a different way. We appreciate more. There's always the fight of going into the office or not, but that is such a minimal thing compared to everything else we learned. And
Right.
I laugh and say we've become a little bit more European in our ways, that we now value more being at home and with our
Right.
families than
Yes.
we ever did
Yes.
before. In the past, I would travel 211 days a year. And now I just don't want to do that. I want to
Mhm.
get my work done, but maybe I don't need to be gone for 7 days. I can do it in 3.
Right.
And so I think we've all found different priorities. And so have your clients, by the way. Your clients are ready to go. If you're not out there talking to them, you're missing out, because I'll tell you, I've never seen sales like they are. I've never seen interest when we do shows with our advisor friends and partners. We're seeing thousands of people show up to trade shows now,
Mhm.
better than 2019 and 2018. So get out there. This is your time to make your career soar in the travel business, to make a lot of commission. I mean, we have to talk about that.
Yep.
Look, income is
Yep.
important. We can all talk dreams,
Yep.
but um, it's very, very important that you get out there and talk to them, and don't just email. We want
Mhm.
to talk to people now. People
Mhm.
want to talk. They come to shows just to talk to us. They've
Right.
already decided they're going to cruise.
Right.
Go
Those
get
are
them.
those
Go
are
get
my
them, ladies
favorite
and gentlemen.
conversations to have. Those that have
Yeah.
already made the decision, they wanna almost confirm it with someone.
Absolutely, and
I'm doing the
many
right
of them
thing,
were
right?
locked up, like a lot of cities were on lockdown for 2 years. I was in Los Angeles through a lot of it, and people got a little crazy.
Yeah.
They needed people more than ever, so don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to talk to your clients. They do want over communication
Mhm.
now, and, do it. It's
They want an advisor.
they do.
We
They
always
want
fluctuate between that word agent and advisor,
yeah.
and I think they absolutely want that advisor now. So, we do have a question for you, Michelle. It says, "Will you be at the River Cruise Expo?"
You bet I will. We have
Yay!
few ships there. I hope you'll all come by and see us. I'm very excited to be in Budapest this year, and I'll be in one of the sessions as well I think it's on how to convert clients to river cruising. But please come by and say hello. We will be at dock number 2, and we are big lovers of Asta and our friends there, and cannot wait to see you in Budapest. So thanks for that question. Great question.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy
Thank
day. This was
you.
such a fantastic conversation, and, I'm just so thankful that Viking is a partner of KHM Travel Group, and
So are we, Carolyn.
I
Thank
know
you
we
so
will
much.
see you. I know we will see you in the future for sure. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of our partners, and we love KHM and all that you stand for. So thanks for the great support.
Hello again. It looks like Carolyn has fallen off yet again. So we will see you next week at 3 p.m. Oh, here she comes. Let's get her to do the closing. There she is. Welcome back.
You guys, it's the
Oh, nope, she's gone again. All right. We will just see you